Well, hey, everybody. I just will start by saying that I thought that hearing everybody last week just for me just brought me not only a sense of comfort and gosh, Cantor, could you have brought a better, more beautiful song? And then to hear everybody's reflections, but also just to feel connected. Like I just have to say thank you. It was exactly what I needed, and I'm so grateful that we're able to do this again, and that Rabbi Gelman this week is going to share with us what's getting him through. So, Rabbi Gelman, thank you for sharing with us, and I can hardly wait.
There is a classic Jewish story that is attributed to King Solomon. And King Solomon has everything he could ever want. And he has everything he wants because he has this great helper named Benaiah, his most trusted minister. Benaiah has gotten him everything. King Solomon has a room that is just roller coasters. He's got a Taco Bell in his kingdom. Everything is right there for him. But Benaiah is feeling like he could do just about everything. So King Solomon decides, I'm going to humble him a little bit. I'm going to give him a task to get something that I know he cannot get. So he calls Benaiah in, says, my great minister, you do everything. You're able to get everything for me. I want you to get me something that makes someone happy when they're sad and sad when they're happy. Benaiah thinks. He strokes his quarantine beard, and Benaiah goes off into the kingdom. Benaiah first goes town to town, checking with everyone in those towns. Do you have something that could make someone happy when they're sad, sad when they're happy? How about you? Do you have something that could do this? It seems magical. Someone must have this. He goes to every single person he could think of. Those who have magic powers, those who have all the wealth in the kingdom, those who are the humble beggars. No one has it. A month goes by, 2 months, 3 months. He is so tired of wandering from town to town, trying to find this thing for the king. He's gotten everything the king ever wants, but he can't find this. Well, he starts to go back to the king. He is moping through the street on his way back to the castle. And on his way there, he passes a beggar. The beggar has a small towel or a blanket out with some wares that he has. And the beggar says, Sir, why do you look so sad? Benaiah says, I had this task to get this thing that would make someone happy when they're sad and sad when they're happy because the king wanted it. But I couldn't find it. The beggar says, just one moment. He picks up a ring off of the blanket, turns around, and starts working furiously. He puts the ring in a little box and gives it to Benaiah. Here, you can have this as my gift to you so that you can gift to the king. Benaiah doesn't even look at what it is and runs back to the king. Benaiah gives the box to King Solomon, and King Solomon is thinking, there's no way Benaiah found this impossible thing to find. He opens up the box, and there's a shining ring. He pulls it out and reads the inscription. And all of a sudden, starts crying. And then looks around and is happy again. For this ring said the words, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. Thinking a lot about this story, as it sometimes feels like I'm not entirely sure when this is going to pass, but I know that those things that are really making me happy right now, you got to appreciate them. The fact that I get to spend services with so many people right now digitally. It's incredible. And the fact that I have to do it from home, that stinks. But it too is going to pass.
Rabbi, thank you so much.
Thanks.
That's one of my dear favorite stories that has helped me through a lot of interesting times as well. I haven't thought about it too much in relation to this past month until you started telling the story just now, and I was thinking to myself, this past month, more than any other time in my life, have I actually been able to say that statement very, very specifically both ways. At some moments in this past month, I really wanted to freeze time. And it didn't matter to me what else was happening in the world. I would have taken just a sitting around the table or hanging out on the couch with my sons as time I never wanted to pass. And then much of it has been praying for time to pass. But I'm right in the middle of the ring. That's where I am most of these days, unless I turn on the news and unless I, think about what's happening in the world. But if you just look right beside you, you want time to stand still sometimes. That's where I've been at. But I thank you for reminding me of that phrase. I love it.
Wow, Rabbi Gelman, that is one of my favorite stories, and it's a phrase I've been thinking about and saying not too often because I don't want to minimize it, but yes, we know that this will pass. I want to pick up on something that you said, which I'm always very conscious of. When we're in a happy time, to know that that's not forever either. I really learned that, I think, at a wedding of a friend of mine. The bima on their temple was just strewn with these gorgeous, gorgeous flowers, so many different kind of flowers and many, many colors. And as I was walking out of the sanctuary, I looked back at the flowers and I said, it's such a shame that in a few days, these are going to be dead and wilted. And then it struck me that the purpose then is in that moment to enjoy their beauty. And so knowing that the tough times will pass, but the happy times will pass as well, I think when we do have those moments of happiness, of joy, knowing that they won't be forever, we hold them on even tighter because they are so very precious. So I guess it's about smelling the roses and knowing that life is a journey, has its ups and downs, but everything we do turns out to be a blessing. Thank you, Rabbi Gelman.
Wow, Rabbi Rossoff, that was very beautiful. That was, yeah, thank you. And Rabbi Gelman, incredible story. I also am so happy to have learned this time about the Taco Bell that was in King Solomon's palace. I didn't know, I hadn't read that section of the Talmud yet. And so it's just so wonderful to be learning from all of you. And I would say that what I was specifically thinking about right now with that story is the word gam, also, or this too, that it starts out with this too shall pass. And I think that word connects us not only to the other things in our lives that have been challenging. Like when we say this too shall pass, we don't just mean that, we've gotten through hard things and we'll get through them again. We're saying that throughout our people's history, we've actually all gotten through hard times. We've all experienced hard things. And so that this too connects us back to all of the hard things that have been experienced by our people before, and to the knowledge that we can be inspired by their resilience and the fact that we're here because they too went through hard times, and they held on to their values through those hard times so that we could know and learn from them, that we have that strength. So thank you.
Rabbi Singer, thank you so much. for sharing that piece of Gam. I also love connecting that Gam, that also with Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, that we love being able to come together. And that this notion of Gam is that also as we come together, we bring the divine in with us. And so I love that as we're gathered in this way, all of us together, that also God, the divine, is dwelling with us and bringing us such wisdom. So thank you for bringing yourself, and Rabbi Gelman, thank you for bringing this incredible story and this piece of remembering Gam Zeh Ya'avor. I'll just also say that I think that it's a special teaching for us to remember when things feel out of our control. That when things feel in our control, that sometimes we don't want to say, oh, things just pass, or it's a very passive kind of a thing. Gam Zeh Ya'avor, like this too shall pass. But right now, we can remember that sometimes we can feel very much like these big things are out of our control, but then also remembering the things that we can do to make this time pass better. Meaning to pay attention, as Rabbi Rossoff taught us, to pay attention to those beautiful flowers, or as Cantor Ben David taught us, pay attention to the beautiful people who are around us. Pay attention to those moments that are so fleeting sometimes, even in this time, and make sure to remember them. But also, Gam, also remember that we can make this time better for each other and for others. The way that we reach out, the way that we check on our partners who are in the front lines of people in poverty or people who are most vulnerable to COVID-19, that we're making sure that we are reaching out to them so that this time passes better. And that we also remember to come together as communities and savor these moments of Shabbat. Savor these things that are infinite, these ways of being able to say, not only do we savor this because this too shall pass, but because we are a community of Temple Sholem, we also know how to make this time pass better, so that when we're on the other side of this, we're continuing to pay attention to the ways that we're enriched by one another in this beautiful community. So thank you, everyone, for sharing your incredible wisdom.
Rabbis.
Rabbi Gelman, thank you for sharing such a great story that allows us to really ponder what it means to live in this moment and for us to feel strengthened by one another.
I hope time passes and I get to see you guys soon.
I cannot wait to hug you all.
From your lips to the governor's ears. I mean, to God's ears. Thank you, everyone. Beautiful.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.